Welcome to Let's Talk Finances with Dr. Nina White. As we close out this season, I want to slow it down just a little bit and focus on something bigger than budgeting, bigger than investing, and even bigger than business growth. Today's conversation is about the long game, generational wealth. Because true wealth is not just about accumulation. It's about preservation, it's about intention, and it's about transfer. What do you financially today create ripple effects far beyond your lifetime? And whether you realize it or not, you are shaping a financial story that someone else will inherit. So today, we're talking about legacy. Not just money, but legacy. So like I tell you every single week, get your notepad and your pen, call your family and friends in the room, and listen. We're getting ready to dive deeper into generational wealth. When people hear about generational wealth, they often think of millions of dollars. But generational wealth is so much broader than that. It includes capital, education, ownership, financial systems, assets that produce income, and knowledge that sustains stability. Let me give you an example. You have grandparents who've purchased a duplex decades ago, right? Nothing glamorous, but they held on to it. They maintained it and they paid it off. When they passed, the property went to their children, who continued renting it out. By the time it reached the grandchildren, it was producing consistent income that helped pay for college tuition. Now that's generational wealth. It's nothing flashy, not viral at all, but it's powerful. Now let me give you an opposite example. Families inherit substantial lump sums of income, life insurance payouts, property, business proceeds. Within 5 years, it's gone. Why? No structure, no education, and no plan. Wealth without strategy truly evaporates. Statistics consistently show that wealth is often lost by the second or third generation. Not because families are irresponsible, but because systems weren't built. Generational wealth is not accidental, it is designed. I'm going to tell you this. A lot of people always ask me, where does the M&D come from in M&D accounting? Your name is Nina White. So where does that come from? I say it's for my children, my daughter Miracle and my son Dakari. I'm leaving an inheritance for my children. I'm building this for them. This is legacy. So we want to be able to start generational wealth. My daughter's in college. She's not going to school to be an accountant, but she knows the operation of the business. So I'm leaving this to them. I'm building generational wealth. So this is where it makes sense. And this isn't millions of dollars, okay? Here is something important. If you are the first person in your family building wealth, this conversation matters even more. Because you're not just earning for today, you're building a foundation that others may stand on. And that requires intentional thinking. You have to ask the following questions. What assets am I building? What knowledge am I passing down? Are my children financially literate? Do they understand what ownership means? Because money alone doesn't sustain legacy, understanding does. Now let's talk structure. Wealth protection requires planning, clear financial structures, right? Tax planning. Y'all know I've been talking about that tax planning piece. Tax planning is so important. Estates considerations, intentional decision making. Remember how I was talking about that CFO level thinking? This times it becomes very essential, right? So let's make this practical. Business owner, very successful, right? Whom assumed his business will automatically transfer to his children. But there was no succession plan in place. No operating agreement outlining the transfer. No valuation plan. No tax analysis. If something had happened unexpectedly, his family would have been navigating confusion during the grief. That's not legacy, that is chaos. We fixed it by doing this, right? Structuring a succession plan, coordinating with an estate attorney, reviewing tax implications, and clarifying ownership transitions. Now the family has clarity. That's what structure does. So as I've been talking to you all over the last few weeks, we went from budgeting, we was talking about investing, we're talking about thinking differently about money, we're talking about entrepreneurs, like everything. And in everything that I have spoken about, it's one thing that you absolutely can say is talking about structure and knowing those numbers have been my main focus, right? So we're wanting to leave something for our children and our children's children. We don't want them to try to figure this thing out. I have a card, right, with what I want to happen when I transition. So my family won't have to worry about it, right? They know where the insurance policies are. They know what funeral home to call. Everything is in place. So while they're dealing with the grief and all of that, they're not concerned about, is there enough money to do X, Y, and Z when it comes to me. Now, I'm not trying to go nowhere no time soon, but I have already started the preparation, the planning, because my eldest will have to handle it all, right? So let's talk about another example. A client that may have multiple investment accounts, but outdated beneficiary designations. Meaning, if something happened, assets might have gone to unintended recipients. Example, ex-spouse. We don't want them to get nothing. That happens more often than people realize. Estate planning isn't just for the ultra wealthy. It's for anyone who wants control over what they've built. This includes wills, trust considerations, power of attorney, healthcare directives, beneficiary reviews. Listen, when my father passed, my stepfather, but he's my dad, we don't do step anywhere. When he transitioned, I had to tell my mom, hey, now we have to make plans, and you gotta put me on the bank accounts. We gotta make all of the transitions, and so that when something happens to her, I'm not scrambling trying to figure it out, right? The good thing about it was I was the point of contact for him, and I'm the point of contact for my mom. So I knew where everything was. I knew where the insurance policy was. I knew about the wills. I know about where the deed is and all of this stuff. And you have to be able to tell that person that you consider the one that's going to be financially responsible. Make sure you have those conversations. I remember when my mom and Pop went and purchased their grave. My mother was so excited. It was like, let me show you where it's at. I don't want to know where you're going to be buried at. But she was just like, this is one less thing you have to worry about. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, we're going to be buried by the rose garden. I said, you can't smell them. But hey, they wanted to be buried by the rose garden. But this is something that they planned, right? They was thinking ahead. And so it's like my brother, my bonus brother, went. He was like, you trying to put my dad away? And then she said, no, I just want to make sure that we have a place to lay when we do leave here. So again, they was thinking long term, right? They wasn't just thinking in the right now. The other thing that happens is we do not need to ignore taxes. What are we in right now? Tax season. And tax strategy plays a major role in wealth preservation. Without planning, estates can face unnecessary tax burdens, right? Businesses can trigger unaffordable liabilities. Families can lose value simply because no one was prepared. Strategic planning minimizes erosion. Preservation requires awareness. Now, before we move a little bit further into legacy planning, I want to circle back to something we discussed earlier this season, CFO thinking. Because the truth is, generational wealth is not created by accident. It's created through intentional financial leadership. CFO thinking asks important questions before any major financial decision is made. Questions like, what is my risk tolerance? What is my timeline? How does this investment fit into my overall allocation? And what are the tax implications? Because remember, investing without strategy is gambling. But investing with structure is wealth building. And that brings us to something especially important right now, which is tax efficiency. It is tax season, okay? I can't press it enough. It's tax season. And there is, and that's where CFO thinking becomes critical, right? Taxes should never be once a year conversation. I've told you all this. You should not wait until April to now, now you're in the crunch. Now you're stressing out. What am I going to do? Now I'm going to have to pay all this money or whatever at the deadline when you could have been prepared. Getting with someone, tax planning is a year-long conversation. If you're waiting until filing season, I'm telling you now, you're already late. You're already behind the 8 ball. CFO thinks, they say, how do I minimize liability legally? Am I structured properly? Am I maximizing my deductions? Should I adjust my withholdings? That's a conversation I've been having all week long. Should my business consider an S corporation status? Are my retirement contributions being optimized? Like, these are the questions that someone that is thinking like a CFO, they are asking themselves when they're reevaluating things. I've told you all before, I've seen clients save thousands of dollars, and I've seen them lose tens and thousands of dollars, right? But those who have saved, they increased everything by planning, right? By planning early. This tax strategy is not about avoiding taxes. So I don't want you to think like, oh, well, if I focus on tax planning, then I can avoid paying taxes. No, you're still going to pay taxes, but you're doing it strategically, right? Now you have numbers in front of you. Now you know what you have to do and what you don't have to do, right? It's about managing intentionally, okay? And y'all know, like, I'm going to throw my little plug in, it's tax season. If you need a preparer, M&D Accounting is here to help you with that, okay? This is the time to get ahead, not catch up, all right? Now let's talk about how thinking applies to business growth. Because many of the people building generational wealth today are entrepreneurs. That's right, they're entrepreneurs. Business owners who apply CFO thinking, they don't chase revenue. They analyze it. How do they analyze it? By margin trends. What happened last year versus what's happening this year. Cost structures. What's increased? What's decreased, right? Are they charging too much here? Are they charging less, right? That's the structure. Client concentration risk. Who is your target market audience? Who are you focusing on, right? Cash reserves. Hiring timing. When do I hire? Should I hire now? All of that is considered. You have to analyze that as a CFO. As an entrepreneur, these things we have to think about. Last week, I talked to you all about an employee that came to us, a client that came to us who was thinking about hiring, right? Had 3 employees that they wanted to hire all at one time. They were excited, business was growing, workload has increased. But when we ran the numbers for projections, we realized something very important. They didn't have the cash flow to hire 3 people. They only had the cash flow to hire 1. And of course, they were not pleased with that, decision, but we're explaining to them, if you hire 3 people, you're going to put a financial strain on your business, right? So we had to explain to them, you had to phase out and hire strategically. The other thing, we just let them know, you're still continuing to grow. You just added 1 more person to the team. And now your stress is decreased, but you're still sustaining leadership, right? You're still showing, hey, listen, my business is growing, but you got to think realistic, because what you don't want to do is hire 3 people and now you go in the hole, right? And so now you got to let the ones go that you hired because you can't afford to keep them. And when you start thinking this way, strategically, structurally, intentionally, that's when you begin thinking beyond income, right? And into something so much bigger. And that is legacy, right? Finally, legacy planning. CFO thinking as, if something happens to me, is my family protected? Structure also means organizing your financial life now. Not later, but right now. It doesn't take millions of dollars to do that. Get you a pen and pad and just start writing things down. Ask yourself questions. Does someone know where my accounts are? So many times people transition and you don't have access to the accounts, or there's no beneficiary on bank accounts. I learned that probably about 10 years or so ago, that you need to put a beneficiary on a bank account. You can't assume because mom died that you can just go right into the bank and do what you need to do. And mom hasn't put anyone on a bank account. It's just mom sitting on a bank account, nobody else. So now you can't do it. Now you got to go through the estate process, getting someone that's going to be the administrator of the estate, and getting the county involved, all of this stuff, right? Attorneys, everything is now happening because mom didn't think about that. Dad didn't think about that. So now it's like, okay, what do I do? So what they do is say, hey, well, I got the bank card. I might as well just keep going to the ATM until I withdraw all of that. And that's not right. So you got to plan now. Do you know where the documents are? Are they accessible? Get you a safe. Give the passcode to your children, someone that you trust, right? Put that information, let them know where it's at. Where is it? Where can they find it, right? Is their debt manageable? When we talk about debt being manageable, what type of money do they have saved? Remember I was talking about savings, right? We were talking about the 50-30-20 rule. This stuff, are they able to? So once they're in the hospital, whatever may happen, you know, can you handle their debt? Do they have enough money to take care of that? Are assets titled correctly? The title, what's on it, right? You know, you may be coming into a blended family, and you got husband and wife who has children from previous marriages. You got to understand, if one person passes and they still have children, listen, they're now involved in that. You got to get the children to sign off on things and say, yes, it's okay. When maybe along the whole time you're thinking, oh, I'm the spouse, I'm going to get it automatically. You got to make sure these things are titled correctly. Is insurance sufficient? Is there enough insurance? Is the policy? How much? Is it enough to just bury them? And then you still got to figure out how you're going to pay their bills? These are the things that you need to ask yourself. Do that now. That doesn't take much out of that. You know, it doesn't take much. You don't need to be perfect, right? You need just clarity, because clarity ensures continuity. You want to make sure that everything can continue to flow like it needs to. Literally, right now, after the show, sit down. You got your family in the room, have a conversation. Remember, I've been telling you all, have those family meetings. This is what that's about. We're preparing you. I'm giving you advice now, so you don't have to be in the crunch, something happens, right? So now let's bring this back. You don't need to have everything figured out today, okay? You just need to start. Just start. I've had clients say, I'm not wealthy enough to start a legacy. You don't have to be. It's not about that, right? But legacy is about finishing, not starting. Like right now, you're in it. You know, put $5, $10, $15 away a week. Do you hear these people at the beginning of the year? Everybody got their little savings thing. They got the savings book and how much money, if you put this amount of money away every day, by the end of the year, you made $5,000, save $10,000. Just start, right? Just start. It's about being intentional. If you truly build retirement consistently, purchase appreciating assets, reduce the high interest debt, protect your income, educate your children about money, you are building legacy. Listen, as an accountant, my daughter saved more money than me. I taught her. She knows about it. Now she gonna save on her money because she gotta spend her money, so she gonna find every sale possible. But when it come to mama, she want the highest thing in the store. But hey, she still know how to save money though, right? She knows that. And so when she finishes college and everything and go and get her own place, I know she's gonna be okay. So I've started doing this. I started teaching her early. In her single digits, 5, 6 years old, you know, she get $5 in her pocket. She was ready to go to the dollar store. Now she hold on to it. She got her savings account. She put her money over there in her savings account. She understands it, right? So that's one thing. It's powerful. So you want to make sure you're educating your children about money. Now let's go even further. Working with a single mother who has determined a break in the financial cycle. She didn't inherit wealth, right? She inherited debt. But she changed the trajectory. She built an emergency fund, purchased a home, started some investment accounts early, and taught her children how to budget. Who that sound like? Sound like me, right? Exactly. So now, when that person graduates next May, we don't have to worry about it, right? So all of that is all about building legacy. It's generational wealth. Legacy doesn't always start with millions, okay? Sometimes it starts with discipline. So here's what I want you to remember. Wealth building is phase 1. Wealth preservation is phase 2. Wealth transfer is phase 3. Many people stop at phase 1, but the lasting impact requires all 3 phases. CFO thinking involves here. You begin asking, how do I reduce the estate tax exposure? Should I establish trust? How should I protect my business? Are my investments tax efficient long term? What conversation should I have with my family right now? Because silence creates confusion later. Transparency creates strength. This entire season has really been about one idea: stepping into the role of Chief Financial Officer of your life. As we close out this season, I want to thank you for being a part of this journey. We've talked about behavior, structure, business, taxes, investing, strategy, but at the heart of all of this, financial leadership is a responsibility, not just for you, but for those connected to you. If you're ready to move from simple building wealth to persevering and planning your legacy, M&D Accounting is here to support you, especially during tax season. This is the perfect time for you to review your full financial picture. If you need a professional tax preparer or strategic planning support, our experienced team will be happy to assist you. You can call our office directly at 1-877-839-7778. Or you can email us at contactus@mdaccounting.org. Or you can text us at 1-844-436-2788. I believe my QR code is floating around here right now. Take a picture, get that. Let's not leave legacy to chance. Let's design it with intention. I'm Dr. Nina White. Thank you for joining me on Let's Talk Finances, and thank you for being a part of this journey. Build wisely, protect intentionally, lead generationally, and I'll see you next season. Action.